Vasudevaya. So reading from chapter 4, text number 27. Sarva indriyani karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yognao juvati jnana dipate sarva indriyani karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yog agnau juvati jnana dipate sarva indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yogagnau juvati jnana dipate. Somebody like to try?
Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma sanyam yogagnau juvati jnana dipate Sarvanindriya karmani jnana karmani chapare atma sanyam yogagnau juvati jnana dipate Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma sanyam yogagnau juvati jnana dipate.
Anybody else? Sarvanindriya karmani
prana karmani chapare atma sanyam yogagnau juvati jnana dipate Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma sanyam yogagnau juvati jnana dipate.
Word for. Go ahead, yes. No, go ahead, please.
Sarvani indri
karmani
prana karmani chapare
atma sanyam
yogagnau juvati jnana dipate.
Okay, word for word. Sarvani, of all. Indriya, the senses. Karmani, functions. Prana karmani, functions of life breath. Cha, also. Apare, others. Atma samyama, of controlling the mind. Yoga, the linking process. Agnau, in the fire of. Juvati, offer. Jnana, dipate, because of the urge. for self-realization. Translation, Sri Prabhupada. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Wow, let's try and repeat that. Translation. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization. So what's the interest? Self-realization. Through control of the mind and senses, offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Let's see what Prabhupada put here. The yoga system conceived by Patanjali is referred to herein. In the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, the soul is called Pratyagatma and Paragatma. As long as the soul is attached to sense enjoyment, it is called Paragatma. As long as it's attached to sense enjoyment, it is called Paragatma. But as soon as the same soul becomes detached from such sense enjoyment, it is called Pratyagatma. The soul is subjected to the functions of the 10 kinds of air at work within the body, and this is perceived through the breathing system. The Patanjali system of yoga instructs one on how to control the functions of the body's air in a technical manner, so that ultimately all the functions of the air within becomes favorable for purifying the soul of material attachments. According to this yoga system, Pratyagatma is the ultimate goal. This Pratyagatma is withdrawn from activities in matter. The senses interact with the sense objects, like the ear for hearing, the eyes for seeing, the nose for smelling, the tongue for and chanting, and the hand for touching. And all of them are thus engaged in activities outside the self. They are called the functions of the pranavayu. The apanavayu goes downwards. Vayanavayu acts to shrink and expand. Samanavayu adjusts equilibrium. Udanavayu goes upwards. And when one is enlightened, one engages all these searching for self-realization. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayaham Tadati Swapadandikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanamusha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanamusha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyacha Desatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kalpaturuvishta, Kripa Sindhu Patitananta Vaishnava. So, we're continuing with the 4th chapter. This is a very interesting, very technical, like Prabhupada says, very technical as well, aspect of a path of realizing, of inquiry into self-realization. Not an easy one, as you can understand. And the main basis of this part is the breathing process. By breathing, by able to understand the science of breathing. What is it called, the science of breathing? Anybody knows? Pranayama. Being understanding the science of Krishna even explains this further in the 6th chapter. So this is just an introduction into it, and it's further explained in this Astanga Yoga process in 6th chapter that he explains, he elaborates on. So we're learning about an alternative path of realization. What have we come through? We've heard about karma. Krishna introduced karma as a path. By acting, then one gains knowledge. That knowledge helps one to not be bound. By performing what kind of karma? Akarma. By performing akarmic activity, one does not become bound. And then Krishna got distracted by Arjuna's question, how is it you spoke to the sun god? And then he explains that whole path, how he comes yuga, after every yuga and everything, and then he comes back to karma. And in that karma aspect, he explains about the demigods. And then the seed of this whole section we're doing now comes in verse 23. So we're going to come to that, we're going to explore that just now. And we're in 27 today. So we're going to see that link and try to understand something about this very enigmatic, mysterious person called Patanjali, who was well known for his yoga sutras on yoga. So we're going to see something about him also. So what we've been hearing about is how all the religious activities are actually different kinds of yajna. Different forms of yajna have been introduced to karma, as yajna offering to Vishnu, as recognizing Vishnu as the supreme, then acting without fruitive activity, akarma. Then in 23 is the deciding verse that comes, that explains where we are right now. So if you open to 423, this is in summary acting in the mood of yajna. Jnanavastita Chetasaha. So in the translation of this, Prabhupada translates this 23 as the work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. So he's able to merge into transcendence. So the seed of that builds up into what we're hearing about today. Different other forms of processes that ultimately Krishna wants to lead to bhakti. But he's not directly saying, he's offering different forms of knowledge, but he's not directly saying bhakti, otherwise the Gita will be over. So he's mentioning it and then he'll elaborate on it as a form of knowledge. So Krishna is first giving a broad description of sacrifice and then he's going to narrow it down to bhakti. That's his intention, but it won't be an Upanishadic text, right? This is Gita Upanishad. It won't be an Upanishadic text if it doesn't have all kind of complicated things in it for jnanis kind of people. So we're using this path of Gyan now. What we're discussing is the path of Gyan to lead to Bhakti. We just finished with the path of Karma, in essence. Krishna gave the path of Karma in essence and showed how that would lead to Bhakti. Now he's tackling the path of Gyan and showing how this Gyan aspect can also lead to Bhakti. So this is where we are right now, thematically, as a theme. So everything is Krishna's energy and should be used in his service. The Ishyavasya principle. That everything is actually can be connected to Krishna. If it emanates from him, it has a purpose. And the purpose of life is to find out what is that. Atato Brahma Jignasa. We have to find out what is the goal of all of this. So, some philosopher may ask, well, you know, if everything comes from Krishna, and Krishna is spiritual, is matter also spiritual? What do you think? Yes, no, or no, yes? No.
Matter is not spiritual, Krishna is spiritual.
Yes, Krishna is...
Prakriti is not spiritual. Prakriti reflects Prakriti.
Yes.
But he is unattached.
Right. So it's an aspect of Krishna's energy. So it has a spiritual nature to it. But as Mataji rightly said, it in itself doesn't act spiritually. It has to have knowledge into how to use it to act spiritually. Therefore it needs a conscious observer, a conscious person to interact with it and to understand how its nature should be used in service to Krishna. This is called Yukta Vairagya. So matter in itself has a spiritual nature, just like the soul also has a spiritual nature. But because its purpose is different in this context, where we are in the material world, the purpose here is to give us something to play with. Because we want to be God. So in that motive, Krishna has given us this material creation and said, right, try to be God here. But the principles he's put to govern this doesn't allow us to do that. As soon as we try to act with it, we become miserable. And that misery leads to, oh, I'm just frustrated. I just can't make it work out. There must be a higher purpose to this whole thing. So the Jnani is given a chance then. That's when the Jnani is born. And when he's born, he's able to then inquire, well, what is all of this about? Then he inquires, Arthato Brahma Jignasa, and therefore his spiritual life starts. So Krishna is giving a chance for everybody to come to him. So Arjuna, so Arjuna's yagya, because we're discussing yagya here, different forms of yagya with knowledge, right? So Arjuna's yagya then is a battle. He has to fight this battle. So poetically, the battlefield is the yagya stali, and Arjuna's bow and arrow is the spoon and the ghee. So it's a metaphor, but it's explaining how Arjuna is also doing yagya. He's not exempt from yagya. And who is that yagya that Arjuna is doing is offered to? It's offered to the Virat Roop, the universal form of Krishna. We see that in the 11th chapter when we come to it, that everything is going into Krishna's mouths. If somebody says, hey, you have a big mouth. You have a big mouth, Mataji, Prabhuji. So well, Krishna has the biggest mouth. Say how big his mouth is, that everything is going inside it. Krishna is unlimited. So the principle is, that's the principle we want to get to, yagya. And what we're discussing at the moment is the path of Gyan. How to use Gyan as a method of yagya to reach Krishna ultimately in devotion. So that's what we want to come to. So in 425 then, Krishna offers to the demigods. They are connected to Krishna. The demigods are also an aspect of this yagya. They are the universal administrators. So they are also an aspect of it. But if you only worship them, then you're going to be bound. Remember we discussed that that if you worship separate from Krishna, if you only focus on the demigods themselves, you'll be bound, because they themselves are bound. So we want to transcend that. We want to move higher than that. So, and then in 426, Krishna is, I'm just giving you a bit of a summary so you can place, because today's one is a very specific thing. It's discussing a technical yoga process. So just to give you a bit of a background so you understand how is this connected to what we're discussing. Alright? So in 426 then, offering the hearing process and using the mind to control. So the brahmacharis, we heard about the brahmacharis, they offer the hearing process. And the householders, they also do yajna, and they offer whatever they receive as an offering, offering it to their deities, purifying it, and keeping their home as an ashram. So they're also doing yogic activities. And then in today's verse now, what we're discussing here is something very technical, is one aspect of this yoga yoga process of breathing. Pranayama, or breathing, regulation of breathing. So Krishna talks about jnana yoga here. And the goal is to turn the consciousness inward. The jnani is a very reflective person, is a very thoughtful person. So the point here is, in karma, is to engage your activity to purify your consciousness to come to Krishna in bhakti. Here is to take your consciousness inward, reflectively, and using that as a process, trying to understand the devotional aspect. So one of the things that helps you to keep your mind focused, keep the mind still, is breathing. We know this. If somebody is really agitated and you say, oh, calm down, breathe in. It's a common practice that they say, if you're really angry, sit down and breathe in and out 10 times. If you breathe in and out 10 times, your respiration is controlled. That means there's a connection between the breathing and the mind. If there's a connection between the breathing and the mind, how far can we explore this? Can we use it as a process for self-realization? Well, that's what the jnani is trying to do. Now let's see how far he gets with this. So it's trying to move the consciousness inwards, away from the outer world into the inner world of self-control. So he's trying to cut off everything, not interacting with anything, and just trying to meditate internally. Just meditation, stillness. We're familiar with this before we came to Krishna consciousness, right? This meditate on the light, soham, meditate on the sound, breathing. So it's a form of control, so the mind becomes still. But it's not the goal. Now let's see what Prabhupada says here. In the purport, Prabhupada starts by saying, others who are interested in achieving self-realization. So why is he starting with others? That means he's discussed something before this. And what has he discussed? Karma yoga. He's discussed karma. He's discussed about demigods. He's discussed a few aspects. Now he's saying here, Prabhupada is commenting, he's saying others. So others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses, offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. So they're offering the breath, the life breath, we said soham, as an offering to using the mind to be controlled as a yajna, as a sacrifice. Purport, Prabhupada starts. The yoga system conceived by Patanjali is referred to herein. So who is this Patanjali person? Now I tried to do some research on this because this was a bit mystical to me also, to find out exactly who this person is. So I found a person who's a Sanskrit scholar in Patanjali, and she's a doctor, and let's hear a little bit from her what she says about this Patanjali, okay?
I'm Dr. Prabhu, Sanskrit scholar and creator of Sanskrit for Yoga. I'm also the author of Awakening with Sanskrit and an historic person, or rather a feeling with which to approach the Yoga Sutras as a yogi.
So she's going to explain a bit about what is this Patanjali, who he is, what does this word Patanjali mean?
Now, who was Patanjali? This is a really important first step in approaching the Yoga Sutras. In the Vedic tradition, no individual is ever given credit, personal credit, for any kind of composition. Patanjali is not necessarily a historical person. We don't know who Patanjali was, because whoever Patanjali was using an identity to shield himself from being personally accredited.
So this is an aspect of his humility, because his disciples, nobody saw his face. Nobody knew who Patanjali was. When he would speak behind a screen, and he would give his classes like that. So nobody actually saw him. So the one day he tested his disciples, and he said, if anybody comes behind the screen to see who I am, they will burn up. So what do you think happened? The inquisitiveness was too much, and all the disciples went to see exactly who this was. They said, we have to find out who our guru is. But one person, thanks to the call of nature, went out. So the story goes that everybody was burnt up, but this one person came back, and then he said, oh, where's everybody? Where's all my Guru Bhais? No Guru Bhais are here, they're all burnt up. And then Patanjali narrated all the Yoga Sutras to this person. So that's how the historical story goes. But let's hear something about what does this name Patanjali mean?
With the so-called authorship of the Yoga Sutras. He's not like the Deepak Chopra of ancient India. Okay? Patanjali. But his name actually refers to more of an attitude, more of a feeling than it does to an individual.
So he is a person, but his mood is contained within his name. She's trying to explain that it's more a understanding of what he represented. Let's take that further.
What is a Pat? In ancient India, knowledge was always composed on palm leaves. Palm leaves. And it depended on which part of India somebody came from. The variety of palm leaves would make the kind of paper that they wrote on. And that determined the kind of script that would develop in the different parts of India. But Pat's just a general word meaning leaf.
So this Patanjali, Pat means leaf, and what's Anjali?
Leaves that something sacred is of offering.
So Anjali is an offering. Like we have Pushpanjali, an offering of flowers. Pushpanjali.
But if you ever observe a puja, has anybody ever observed puja that we make to an enlightened saint? It's a particular sequence of worship gestures, which are called mudra. Mudra means a gesture. But you'll notice that there are different ways that the priest will make offerings.
So according to her study, the last offering is called the Anjali. It's the special offering, and that's usually like the highlight of the offering. So that's basically what Patanjali means. It's Pata means the leaf, and Anjali means an offering. So he wrote his sutras on these palm leaves. Let's hear something about one of these sutras, because it's famous as Yoga Sutras, and I want to play you one that's very famous.
Throughout.
Okay, I'll just show you this quickly. Okay, we'll come back to
Namaste.
Okay, these are Patanjali Yoga Sutras.
There's a few sutras that I want to make sure that you guys know. Hatha Yoganushasanam.
This is the first sutra. Yes, this is the first Yoga Sutra in the Patanjali. The second one is a common one that even Prabhupada quotes. Hear it first and then we'll discuss it.
Sutra 1-2. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha
Yogas chitti vritti nirodha. That yoga means to take the chitti, the consciousness, and connect it to the Supreme. Yogas chitti vritti nirodha. So the same point Prabhupada is made in the purport. That in the translation, this translation is similar to this concept. And in the purport, Prabhupada will expand on this. But this is the Yoga Sutra that is very common and it's very well known, the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There's many that he's discussed. This is the one that is most popular, most well known. So we'll discuss some more of it. Let's go into the purport a little bit more and then we'll come back there. Okay? Okay, in the purport then, Prabhupada says, in the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, the soul is called Pratyagatma and Paragatma. As long as the soul is attached to the sense enjoyment, it is called Paragatma. The rag means attachment. Paragatma, the soul is attached. And tyag means to renounce, or to give up. Pratyagatma. So you can work it out, the meaning of these words there. But as soon as the same soul becomes detached from such sense enjoyment, it is called Pratyagatma. So these two concepts Prabhupada discusses there, where the soul becomes attached and detached. So I wanted to show you something on that quickly also. And then we'll go, because it's a short purport, I thought it would be more emphatic if we go over some of these clips and things like that. You'll probably get to grips with it more. You can understand it better.
Conscious breathing. And what?
Okay, this is Patanjali. As I said, is quite a mysterious person. So people really don't know how to express him as some people respect him as a god figure, which is quite popular in India. So if you do an internet search, this is what you're going to find on Patanjali. You'll find some pictures of him like this. You'll find some expressions of some divinity, divine aspects of him. But what he's very popularly known for is these Yoga Sutras and practicing the yoga breathing process. So you'll see some yoga asanas here. Just to give you some background information of what you can expect, like through a general search on the person, because he's quite a mysterious person. So this is just some background information on Patanjali. Let's see something.
So, the thing.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Okay, we did that.
Namaste.
Namaste to you too. Okay, let's just go a little bit in the purport and then I want to show you something very interesting about this pranayama. Okay, because it's a short purport. Okay. So the soul is subjected to the functions of the 10 kinds of life air. Prabhupada continues then. After discussing these 2 points of Pratyagatma and Paragatma, then Prabhupada goes on to explain, the soul is subjected to the functions of 10 kinds of air at work within the body. And this is perceived through the breathing system. So there's 10 kinds of air. And what is this 10 kinds of air? This is really interesting because we are familiar with probably 1 or 2, right? We cough and we breathe and we sneeze. Now this is taken from Bhagavad Gita 4:7, chapter 4 verse number 7. These 10 life airs, right? So let's see what Prabhupada describes these life airs as. I just want to find it quickly. Yes. Now I need a volunteer also to read this out. Can you see the font? Is it okay? Is it legible? Can you read the print? Okay. Would you like to read? These are the 10 nice and loud. Okay. Or the mic is. Will it come around? Okay. Just speak loud.
The 10 kinds of air are described as follows.
Okay. So 10 kinds of air we're going to hear about. Yes. Okay. Just be careful. Don't pull any wire. All right. Yeah. That's what I was worried about. Yeah. I think they can hear you on the radio also then. See that you got a... Yeah, okay, alright.
The 10 kinds of air are described as follows.
Okay.
The main air passing through the nose is breathing in. The main air passing through the nose is breathing. The main air passing through the nose in breathing is called prana.
Prana. So we got one. Prana. Okay, that's the main one that we breathe with. Okay, next one.
The air which passes through the rectum as evacuated bodily air is called apana.
Apana, because you know when you go to relieve yourself, then there's a pressure. That air is called apana. Okay, 2. Right. So we got 2. Go ahead.
The air which adjusts the food stuff within the stomach and which sometimes sounds as belching is called samana.
Samana. Anybody would like to do a demonstration of samana? Okay. So that's when you full stomach and you're digesting and that sound, right? Okay, go ahead.
The air which passes through the throat and the stoppage of which constitutes suffocation is called the udana air.
Udana, that's the air in the throat. Now, when somebody is passing away, naturally you get that, they call it a rasping sound in the throat. That's the udana air which is being disturbed. If you notice this, if you ever have a chance, when somebody is leaving their body in a natural sense, there's a sound that comes from the throat. That's that air. What happened here? Okay, there we go. Right, go ahead.
8. The total air which circulates throughout the entire body is called the Vyana air.
Vyana air. Prabhupada also mentioned that in the translation. There's the air which is around the whole body. That's how we're able to touch also. Touch, tactile actually is activated by air. Okay, go ahead.
Subtler than these 5 airs, there are others also.
Yes.
That
so
which facilitates the opening of the eyes, mouth, etc. is called Naga air.
Okay, so this Naga air is opening your eyes. You ever wondered how your eyes are blinking and closing and opening without you doing it? Is there a battery at the back? No. Who's doing that? Something is doing that. It's an air. Just like a lift is also propelled, used by powerful forklifters and machinery are also use this system of air pressure. What is it? Rheumatics. Yeah. Thanks. Yes. So that air, you can get a similar idea. Okay, go ahead.
The air which increases appetite is called Krikar air.
Yes. So there's air in the stomach then. There's air in the stomach. Otherwise, how that will increase appetite? You feel that burning sensation in the stomach. Part of that increased aspect of that is this air. Okay.
The air which helps contraction is called Kurma air.
Yes, contraction. When mothers are delivering children, that air is Kurma air, contraction. Okay.
The air which helps relaxation by opening the mouth wide in yawning is called Devdatta air.
Okay.
And the air which helps sustenance is called Dhananjaya air.
Yes. That Dhananjaya air, it's described, it even stays in the body even after death. It actually decomposes the body. That last air. Okay, so we got the 10 airs, right? We heard about it. Prabhupada mentioned it in the purport. Now we found it. Now let's see what else Prabhupada says here. Okay. Okay. Pranayam. Then Prabhupada discusses this breathing through the system of breathing, the breathing system, pranayama. This breathing is regulated. So Prabhupada mentioned these vayus, vayu, prana. In the direct translation, in the direct Sanskrit of today's verse, it says that prana karmani chapare. So this prana. So prana is not just the breathing as we learnt about the 10 airs, but it's also used to describe in summary all the airs. It's used in dual purpose to describe all the airs as prana and as well individually as the breathing one. The prana vayu. So Prabhupada, there is 5 aspects that are explained in Prabhupada's purport, and we discussed further taking from 7.4. So the mind is one of the elements of the subtle body. Therefore, if the air is also subtle like this, there's a connection between the both. So scientifically you can understand then how is it that by breathing the mind becomes calm? Well, the mind is subtle and air is subtle, you can't see it. So the connection works on that platform. And by the process of Ashtanga Yoga, then one is able to connect with that, and by stilling the mind strongly, then one is able to perform the yogic process of offering the life air, the breath, as a yajna. Now what's our process to still the mind? Manashakta partha, Maya Shakta Mana partha, Yogam Yunjan Madasraya, 7.1. By thinking of me, use your mind to think of me. So the bhakti process is to use the mind to think of Krishna. And the jnana process is in the breathing. And the karma process is in engagement in offering the sacrifice to Krishna. So all of these should come to Krishna. And that's how to see Gita as a complete. That these 3 aspects of Bhagavad Gita, jnana, karma and bhakti, they should all connect to Krishna. They should all come to the understanding of understanding Krishna and serving Krishna. Okay, let's see what Prabhupada further says in the purport. Prabhupada says then, the Patanjali system of yoga instructs one on how to control the functions of the body's air. So the body, you have to know how to be aware that your body is an instrument that can be controlled, become aware of it in a spiritual sense to help you self-realize. And then he says, in a technical manner, it's a very technical manner, we're going to see how just now, and ultimately all the functions of the air within become favorable for purifying the soul. So the ultimate goal, like Prabhupada is saying here, is purification, to purify. We've learned the art of engaging everything in Krishna's service, and by thinking of Krishna and doing that service, we purify ourselves. The karma yogi does an action and offers the fruits or the results of that to Krishna to become purified. How does a jnana yogi does it? This is how he does it. By understanding the breathing process and offering that as in a purified way to Krishna. Okay, purifying the soul of material attachment. According to this yoga system, pratyagatma is the ultimate goal, to detach. Detach from this. This pratyagatma is withdrawn from activities in matter. The senses interact with the sense objects, like the ear for hearing, eyes for seeing, nose for smelling, and tongue for tasting, hand for touching. And all of them are thus engaged in the activities outside the self. The whole reason for analyzing these vayus is to analyze the body, direct it inwards, directing the consciousness inwards. Now, it's not only the Vedic tradition that understands this point. Many of the ancient traditions also have a deep understanding of this. we'll see just now in a short video. Alright, so let's see this interesting aspect of pranayama. How does this whole thing work? Right? We don't actually do pranayama, although we do one aspect of silent meditation. And what is that? What silent meditation do we do as Vaishnavas? Gayatri mantra. That's the only aspect of silent meditation we do. Okay, let's see this pranayama. We've got 5 minutes.
Conscious breathing. And what is yoga breathing?
Okay, I need the mic.
Pranayama is usually translated as prana or breath control. Breathing affects our state of mind. It can make us excited or calm, tense or relaxed. It can make our thinking confused or clear. In the ancient yogic tradition, air is the primary source of life force.
And that's what Prabhupada also discussed, prana. Remember? Air is the vital aspect of life force.
A psycho-physio-spiritual force that permeates the universe.
Psycho-physical means it's mental, psycho, and physical. It's also a physical force. Prana is the subtle, and air is the gross aspect of that prana.
Yogic breathing is used in yoga as a separate practice to help clear and cleanse the body and mind.
And we read that Prabhupada said to purify. In purifying, same thing he's saying, cleansing the body and mind.
It oxygenates the lungs by getting rid of an enormous quantity of carbon dioxide and other toxic gases. It's also used in preparation for asana, the practice of yogic postures and meditation, to help maximize the benefits of the practice.
So what is asana? Asana is one of the 8 forms of Ashtanga Yoga. Yam, Niyam, Pranayam, Asana is the 4th one, I think. Right? Then on the deeper subtle levels come. So preparing yourself, this is vital also.
And focus the mind. Conscious breathing techniques. Step 1. Concentrating on your breath.
What is that called? Soham. You remember this?
Close your eyes and be conscious of your breathing. Breathe slowly and rhythmically. There is no need to rush.
So you can see the whole practice is to give you something to focus on. Like you're saying, don't need to rush, be calm, focus. That means you actually need a point of focus. And that's why at the beginning of the 7th chapter, at the end of the 6th chapter, when Arjuna is introduced to this, he says, Hey Krishna, Chanchala hi manasa Krishna, Pramati balavadridam, Tasyaham nigraham manya, Vayu vicha chaduskaram. This is impossible what you're asking me to do. I can control the wind, but this process of breathing, which is connected to the wind, I cannot do that. And then beginning of 7th chapter, Maya Shakta Manaparte. Okay, Arjuna, now I'll give you a process of focus, which I actually wanted to do right at the beginning, but now is the time. And that is focus on Krishna. To use your mind to think of me, Krishna. Okay? So let's see. This is more like a diagram, cartoon kind of thing. Let's see in reality something.
Shop is on awareness of the body and breath, like in Hinduism and Taoism. But this particular breathing exercise and the yogic exercise that I am teaching in this workshop is coming from Burn tradition, and the Burn is the oldest spiritual tradition of Tibet.
So this is the Tibetan tradition, also teaching the same thing. Here, how old this tradition is?
In its oral transmission or oral history, it says it goes back about 17,000 years.
17,000 years. So the art of breath control connected to the mind is a well-known science. So Krishna is touching on this because it's secondary to bhakti. So let's see a little more.
With these practices of awakening the sacred body,
the practices of awakening the sacred body, that's the point Prabhupada brought out in the purport. Pratyag Atma and Parag Atma, to detach from the body. So by him just saying that, they have an understanding that the body is sacred. It's not just used for sense gratification. So you can see Prabhupada's purport coming out here in the same thing.
The purpose of these practices is to understand our sacred body.
Again, sacred body, again and again. This is the point of it. Understand the body is sacred. Why is the body sacred? Because what does it have? Take it one step further. They probably didn't discuss that aspect yet. Why is the body sacred? Because it houses the soul. What else? Not only the soul, the super soul. Oh, so how do we connect now the soul and super soul? This is where it's going to. But you can see in his language, there's the understanding of the body being sacred.
To understand the channels in our body, to understand these energy centers in our body, so-called chakras. So this is about clearing, opening, and finding qualities, enhancing those qualities, and manifesting these qualities in our life.
Right? So it's about clearing and enhancing these qualities and manifesting it in our lives. Prabhupada said the same thing. It's about purifying. To put these qualities in your life means to you're understanding something about yourself that is important. Technically, in our context, it's called self-realization. In their tradition, it's enhancing your life. Same principle. Okay, so let's see, what else did I have here? This was interesting. So, many people may not be so interested in this jnana thing, right? But when people are introduced to this pranayama process, motivated for a higher thing, then one of the things that one is able to do is levitate, float. One is able to levitate. So this person has got this rare footage of one of these Tibetan monks which chants his mantras and things like that. I hope this is really authentic. It is a video after all, so it could be manipulated. But let's see, and it shows how by practicing pranayama and chanting certain mantras, this monk is able to levitate. So we'll end on that point, just as a entertainment aspect of this.
Buddhist meditations.
Yes, I understand. I know you don't want to teach me how to do it or tell me any of what you do, but
this person is a magician
maybe I could
on the
just
left.
witness it.
But he's saying he knows it's not magical. There's some aspect of understanding your subtle
You
nature.
come from a very far way. You show me your style. I don't know what happened, but I will try one time.
Okay, great.
So I was going to try. Let's just speed it up a little bit so we save some time. Okay, we've got all the cameras. He's chanting his mantras. He's doing his pranayama. This is a real mystical thing for India. Okay, you can see that it's definitely off the ground.
How is it doing that? Are you guys seeing this? Are you guys seeing this?
Wow. There's wires. I don't see anything. That's crazy.
Okay, so this is like the karma fall for those who are motivated to say, well, you know, even if all that jnana fails, at least I'll be able to levitate at the end, you know. And believe it or not, there are many people who come to spiritual life because of these kind of things. You know, especially in the West, not everybody wants to know about Krishna, so you have to preach to this angle also. Oh, do you want to levitate? You know, and yeah, you do this kind of breathing practice, you can come to the process of levitation. But that's not the goal of life. This is just the invitations to bhakti. That's why Krishna took 6 chapters. If he wanted to, he could tell Arjuna right in the beginning, this is what I want you to do. I already spoke to you as your guru. You are my disciple, do this bhakti. But he knew not everybody is going to be interested in bhakti. So by understanding all these different processes and practices, then one realizes that bhakti is the highest thing. But it took 6 chapters to come to this point. So we only on the 4th chapter, right? So Krishna is catering for everyone's needs. It's diverse. He knows that not everybody is going to come. After all, why are we here? If everybody is just going to come to Krishna consciousness just like that, then why did they come to the material world in the first place? They want to enjoy here. So to be able to control like that so you can levitate is amazing. You're able to control the elements of nature. So your enjoyment is not eating, tasting, seeing, material things anymore. It's subtle enjoyment. Now I can control and manipulate material nature. But it's still enjoyment, separate from Krishna. So this is what they use to bring. So Krishna is catering for this kind of people, saying, yes, jnana is there, but what is the goal of jnana? Ultimately, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Bahunam Janmanante Jnanavam Mam Prabhanyante. You have to come to the point of Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Otherwise you will get bound. He may be able to do that, to float and do these mystical things. But will he leave his body? Will he die? Can he beat the process of birth and death? He has to leave the body there. So you spend your whole life trying to perfect levitation, but you have to leave the body down there in the ground, not in the air. And what have you achieved by it? So this is the point of jnana. Think higher than that. Think higher than that. So Prabhupada really went into this purport on this Patanjali and pranayam extensively, more than he usually does. But he didn't miss the point. It's about purification. And ultimately, you want to come to for devotees, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, they've superseded this stage. They've already engaged in Vasudeva Sarvamiti. They know Krishna is the source of everything. They don't have to wait for thousands of births. Bahunam Janmanante. They've already come to that understanding. Now they're engaging in Krishna's service. So I hope it was educational. And as we carry on also, we're going to learn more in this chapter. These are really different forms of knowledge. And when he comes to it, ultimately he's going to say, this spiritual knowledge of who he is, Krishna, that is the highest of all. So we'll stop there. Any questions from anyone? Yeah? Okay, can the mic go all the way?